Facebook family and friends, YouTube, what's going on, TikTok, all the different areas where we are now able to go live. How's everybody doing this morning? Sunday morning, you know what it is. It is our Saturday morning recovery group on Sundays. Bam, make sense of that. Make sense of that. So it's been a long week, guys. I seen you guys live yesterday. Thank you for participating and being willing to talk about, growth and change in our community. It's always nice to have you guys join us and talk about your feelings on that. Let's bring in Sammy Rangel. We got a pretty interesting subject today, but good morning, Sammy. What's happening, brother?
What's up, man?
Not much. Hey, I'd like to send a shout out to my sisters, Primavera and Tonatzin. Happy birthday. They just turned 30 a couple days ago. We're actually going to go over there this afternoon, have some tacos and cake and ice cream and hang out for a little while. The fun stuff.
Julie brought back some arrachera, so we're going to bring...
oh, really?
We're going to cook some of that up today. In our 60-degree T-shirt, sunshine weather over here.
It's not too bad here. What is it? It's 40 degrees, 40 plus. We're doing well.
You guys got a lot of snow.
We did. It was a pretty big snowstorm, and then it warmed right up afterwards, but now it looks like Tuesday and Wednesday we're going to get a bunch more snow. Waited to the end of the season for it, so.
You guys won't warm up until June. And then it gets cold again right away.
It ain't that bad. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I know. You guys got to keep telling yourselves that. I love 8 inches of snow every night.
I was about to say something completely inappropriate, but we'll say that for another show.
We know you love 8 inches, bro.
Oh, Lord. See?
Well, I'm talking about snow. What were you talking about?
Right. This is why we're here together. Oh, shit. So how you been, bro?
I've been good, man. It's busy around here. It's almost chick season, so we're going to get some more chicken soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it just...
Interesting factoid. A chicken debugs about 250 square feet a day. So if you think of one chicken in 1 week, right? That's almost it's like 1,750 square feet. We have 4, so multiply, just round it up to 2,000. So we have 4, so that's 8,000 square feet a day or a week that a chicken will debug. And out here we got ticks and recluse spiders and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it also makes it hard for the snakes to be around.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to pick up some more, not to mention the price of eggs being 1 child per dozen. So
yeah, I think it's a child and an arm. I did not realize my work shirt was this stained up.
Well, I thought you were just lactating.
Morning, Thea.
Matter of fact, I need to go get my coffee. I forgot my coffee. But so we actually got a pretty interesting topic today. I would go back and change your title because we are going to talk about some recovery hacks.
What do you want to change the title to?
Take off the knot.
Oh, I don't think I can adjust it while we're on here. But
oh, got it. Okay.
I mean, if you know some easy hacks to recovery, let's break them down, bro.
I'm not going to say they're easy. They are hacks, though. There are things you can do. I remember when I worked in the jail with John, I had come up with some hacks of my own. Like, for instance, if there's only one rule you can remember, right? If there's only one thing you can remember, don't do anything stupid. Like, there it is. Like, the end. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Anything stupid.
Uh,
Story. Like, and then if you need a little more, don't do it if it hurts someone else, and don't do it if it hurts yourself. There you go. That's 2 steps. If you want to be a little more complex, you can do 2 steps, right? Like, it's not
those are good rules.
that complicated. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Right?
Good morning, everybody.
Like
Angela.
Bill said, grand rising gentlemen. Yes.
Bam, Gabby.
Yes. We
That's
have
you,
been
Christina.
promoted to gentlemen.
Right? That's the homie from Wyoming, man. She's good people.
We are gentlemen today. So we're going to talk about this, but there are other things that I can recommend that, really make sense. It just we do complicate this shit, but the fact of the matter is this really isn't a replacement for a true, genuine recovery process, right? Like, you can duct tape the walls of a house together, but over
Right.
time, that's not going to hold up, right? Like, and if it was really, while we're talking about things that are simple, we're not trying to imply they're easy. Like not doing something stupid sounds easy, but we've been in predicaments where it just makes it really hard. Life can make it hard not to do the thing that's stupid.
Right.
Like sometimes it feels like the right thing to do is something stupid. Right. And stupid is really for people who are on the show, like drop in the chat what stupid could look like if we were going to do it in any situation, right? Because stupid is pretty broad. Stupid could range from shoplifting a sweet tart from your local ice cream store when they're not looking, right? Because they put the candy out for you to buy on an honor system. It could also be murder.
Right. I was going to say, you could stab somebody 13 times over being called a name.
It's not like that, like it's that far away.
Right.
For us, stealing a sweet tart, murder, they're not really that far away.
Kind of the same boat. What's sad is how true that is, man. Like, sometimes we push ourselves and we close off our choices to the ones that make no sense when you're calm and thinking, and the only thing that comes in your head is stab this dude, right? Like, sitting here now talking to you, I don't find any situation, like petty situation, worth stabbing someone for, right? But you sit me in a prison cell and surround me by 1,300 other idiots besides myself, and stabbing someone comes up quite often, like, right? It's kind of a daily conversation. Should I shank this dude or what?
Dude, what are you talking about? Prison? I was just driving down the street yesterday, and I don't have real bad road rage, right? I don't know. I get tiffed, but yesterday, 28 and D, right? That T intersection. Yep. So I'm coming off my road to get onto the main road, which is 28, and I'm pulling up to the stop sign. It's a little bit of a blind T, because the roads, how the roads are, but this guy's probably doing 60 or 70 coming off 28 to turn on to D. And he is literally turning into my lane. He had to avoid me to avoid a head-on crash. And because he was going so fast, like, he really had to jerk the wheel. And I tell you, dude, I was like so heated because he almost hit me. And then he's just looking at me, like I'm the one in the wrong, and I was just like, I want to turn this fucking truck around. And I had it all in my head, man. I'm going to snatch this fucking, like, you ain't got to be in prison for that.
Hey, what's funny is
Julie was just looking out the window laughing because she thought the shit was funny.
Hey, listen, what's funny is the other day when we had the snowstorm, I was heading to work and I left about an hour early because I knew, what I mean? The roads were crap. I'm driving a little Jeep and I'm going down 31 Green Bay Road, and Green Bay Road from 6 Mile to 4 Mile is just one lane each way. And I'm doing 35, man. Like, I'm being conservative. The plows aren't out. Like, there's a couple inches of snow on the ground. It's slippery. And some dude in a huge lifted truck, huge knobby tires, he's just right on my ass. And he keeps doing this one here, like trying to see if he can get around me. And I'm like, you know what? Screw you, dude. I'm doing 35. I don't care. Just as we get to the 2-lane cutoff where it splits, and you get 2 lanes now, this dude jerks the wheel and guns it because he's gonna rip past me and throw right into the snowbank, right? Like right into the ditch. Beautiful front end truck. I seen his driver's side tire turn sideways and go like this. And me being me, right? I have road rage issues, right? When you put my life in danger, I become angry. Let my children be in that car and I become even more angry. So seeing that he was alive, right? I pulled over a couple 100 feet in front of him. He hops out of his truck. He's looking at his truck. And I laugh. I'm like, bam, bro. That's what you get, dumbass. And I get my Jeep and I drive the rest of the way to work. And that was so that was so great for me, right? Like, dude, it was like the greatest thing that could have happened was that instant karma. But my thought process was to stab him as well, right? Like, dude, when he was on my ass, it was like, let me
like looking up and down the road, see how many cars are on the road. Like,
let me stop right here in the middle of the intersection, get out of my itty bitty little Jeep, drag you from your fucking truck, and teach you a lesson, right? But that was a stupid thought, right? It was a stupid choice.
Look, I want to acknowledge Gabrielle. She shared something in the chat. She's like, man, spending your money on temporary happiness and being homeless. And that was my biggest stupid. I get it. And then she's like, I'm 3 months sober. First of all, hats off to Gabrielle for being 3 months sober.
That's my buddy,
Gabrielle,
bro.
let me ask you a question, right? Because we focus on something a little different. We recognize the sobriety piece, right? But let me put it this way. What is the point of sobriety? And for the 3 months that you have been substance free, why did you do that? Like, what was the reason you have done 3 months sober? Like, what is that? Share that in the chat if you want, if you're comfortable doing that, right? I'd love to hear it because I'm going to build on this comment. I'm gonna take it deep. I'm gonna give us a bigger purpose, right? And so let's talk about that. Why did you stay 3 months sober, right? Now, don't do anything stupid. So we're defining so Tony, you came in a little late. You're defining what your stupid could be, right? We're given a hack. We're given a hack on recovery. Like, what are some hacks? I'm giving you some hacks today. So I'm going to guess that a lot of the folks that are in our room don't actually do full-blown recovery. Like, they're not at the meet. But here, I just found an interesting factoid. For folks in recovery who go to daily meetings for 6 months, they have a 70% success rate in recovery. Think about that. So, like, if you're new in recovery and you go every day for 6 months, you have a 70% chance of staying in recovery long term. That's a huge indicator of what the power of doing all of it is, right? And kind of like right now, you have crisis intervention, so to speak. Sometimes people need, like, they need to know what's the immediate action I need to take. Because when you think 12 steps and you think immediate action, it's not like that, right? So one of the immediate actions in recovery people think is staying sober. Like, that has to stop. Like, that's a no-brainer, right? Like, in order to interrupt it, that some things have to stop. So Gabrielle says, for me, it's my relationship in trying to build a family. I'm really ready for family and personal growth. Now, tell me which one sounds more like it has more power, Gabrielle. The fact that you're 3 months sober, or for you basically saying, I am doing it for my relationship and trying to build a family. Which one puts more wind in your sail? Right? If you really think about, so we've been socialized in certain worlds to think about sobriety as the main indicator for success. When in reality, what I'm hearing you saying is like, I've for 3 months, I've been improving my life, my family, my relationships, right? Like,
Myself.
you know, which holds you up more, right? Now, granted,
Nobody pay attention to the moose next to
what? What'd you do?
Nobody pay attention to the moose that just walked out of
Oh,
Sammy's bedroom. Like, I don't know what the hell that was. That was pretty freaky there for a minute, bro.
they're barking.
Yeah.
They're
Hey,
barking.
and listen,
Let me take a peek. What's going on, Coda?
that's the truth, you guys. Like Gabrielle, you're talking about building who you are and building on a base of something that you care about and respect and love, right? I couldn't achieve anything until I learned how to forgive myself in the only way I could, and to work on me, right? To improve me and to want that for me, right? To want to be a better person for me. I was only in one CA class while I was in the mental hospital. I've never been to meetings otherwise. I'm all independent, to be honest. Not many people knew. I'm sure Monty didn't even know, to be honest. And it's to make me feel better. The win is my relationship, though. Well, I love you, Gabby. And you're right. I didn't know how bad you were, but, it doesn't matter, right? Only thing I'm going to say about recovery and relationships is it's a very tumultuous and dangerous situation, right? You can't place your recovery in the hands of a relationship that is dangerous to yourself, in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm trying to read what she said. Well, that I wasn't saying that. Um, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that,
Heck yeah.
Gabrielle. That's a lot. Like you're dealing with a lot, and I understand. I recognize that. Um, what I'm getting at is not necessarily that the relationship is what's making you do it. It's we often talk about sobriety as a cornerstone, but if we think about it, when you go to the bathroom, you have to wipe, right? Like it's
You don't have to.
well, you should. I would recommend it. Out there. This is why you have children issues that you have. This is exactly what's going on in your house. Um, there are certain things that have to be done. When you're hungry, you eat. When you're sleepy, you sleep. Right? When you're tired, you rest. You have to put gas in the car to get it to go. There are things you have to do, and we can celebrate those things that we have to do, but it's almost like besides the point, right? It's important. There are things that we have to do to make other things work. And yes, it's critical important to start there, but it's also critical to recognize there are other things that make this mission even more important and more so meaningful to me, right? So I got a great job, moved to Madison, good money. What I'm saying, if it wasn't for this change in my life, not this change, not the fact that you got sober, it's the fact that your mind and your heart shifted, which led to being sober, right? There was something in you that said, I have to do this. That's what needs to be celebrated, right? You're right. It's funny because you can't do it without being sober. You just can't. You're not going to have the success, right? But what changed first was you. You changed first, right? Sobriety is important. I'm just saying, and you can't do it without sobriety, but it's not the most important thing about you. For example, let's talk a little about formers, why we call ourselves formers. Formers implies three things, right? And just be open because you can do it the way you're talking about, and you obviously have. Like that's working. You're doing it the way you're thinking about it. here's how we would think about it. Formers, rather than saying I'm an addict, I'm a criminal, I'm an alcoholic, whenever you say I am, right, it's a powerful indicator of identity. It's who you believe you are. And while you might have an addiction, yeah, and we talk about that too, Tony, right? Like if you can't do it for yourself, you might do it for someone else, right? That's in our literature, right? If you gotta have many reasons to do this. I think the more reasons you have to do it, the better, because we don't subscribe to the idea that you have to do it for yourself before you can do it for anyone. If that works for you, then do that, right? Believe that. But just like Tony said, if it's not, if I don't value myself, that I'm never going to have a reason to do it. But sometimes we can care about something, someplace, or someone else so much that we will walk to the ends of the earth through fire to get to them, right? If that's what fucking motivates you, then do that. But we're always looking for balance, right? Because eventually in recovery, it can't just be all for you.
Right.
Eventually in recovery, it can't just be all for someone else. The balance would be doing it for you and for someone else, right? And we strike a balance the longer we stick with this. We say, and Gabrielle, to your point, whatever brought you to the table, whatever got you here, great, hang on to that. But we want to diversify our portfolio. This is one of the hacks, if you ask me. That's one of the hacks of FA. We don't say you got to do it for yourself before you got to do it for anyone else, before you can do it for. I mean, it would be nice if you could, but if that's not the case, what are we going to do then? What
right.
Can you imagine? Tony's got, Tony is like, I can't do it for myself. Well, come back when you can. Like, oh, sorry to hear that. Too bad. So sad. See you later. Right. Like, if that's, so to you, Gabrielle, like, and Tony, if whatever got you started is what got you started. But what I've learned in recovery, a lesson here for us, is that a lot of times what brought you to the table isn't what's going to keep you at the table.
Right.
I just want to make that clear. A lot of times what brought you to the table, and here's why. Here's the secret sauce, right? So, but I want to repeat it. A lot of times what brought you to the table is not what's going to keep you at the table. And here's a couple reasons why. One, addiction is smart. And it realizes that you outsmarted it, and then it goes about the business trying to outsmart you in that way, right? How many people have started recovery, because they want to avoid jail, they want to avoid a divorce, they want to avoid, some sort of consequence. And what do we know? That eventually that consequence isn't enough to keep people out of the isn't enough to keep them out of the situation. Yeah, it's the gas, right? It's the gas you put in, and whatever gets you started is what gets you started. We're saying at some point we want to deepen. It's not or, it's and. Right? It's my relationships. And then we're going to say, and what else can we add to that equation? Because the more value, because what are you going to do if you lose that relationship? And you want to know a scary statistic about recovery? Monte, what's the number one reason people give when they relapse?
Relationship breakup.
Relationships. My relationship failed, and it's the number one reason. Not just here, all over the world, in all 12-step worlds, the number one reason people relapse is their relationships. Yep. We have to listen to the data. We have to listen to the history, right? And it's because, first of all, addiction it's extremely, it feeds off of emotion. Addiction is an emotional crisis. It's an emotional disorder, right? It feeds on that. And what is the number one emotional driver for most of us? It's our relationships. Yeah. Not just even sexual relationships. It can be family. Like, how many fuckers give up because they get into it with their freaking families, right? Like families know you best. They know your buttons best. They've been pushing your buttons all your fucking life. Hell, they gave you the button to hold for them to push. Right? They put it in you. And fucking sometimes our family, in my family would be, oh, te crees. You're doing better, so you think you're the shit, huh? Like,
Yeah.
You're going to school, so you think you're the shit, huh? You think you're better
You
than
think you're better than
us.
us.
Just hateful. Dude, I was in White Earth Reservation, and those kids, some of those kids were getting full scholarships to play ball. And instead of going to play ball, you know what they were doing? Take a guess.
You're not.
No. They were killing themselves. Get a full ride, and then you commit suicide. Why? Because the pressure their fucking families were putting on them on not leaving the family was too much for them to handle. Relationships, man, are really the trigger. It's the trigger, right? So great, the relationship did it for us in the beginning, but we've got to diversify. We've got to spread our eggs. We've got to put money in different pots. We've got to put energy in different pots. Yeah, I hear you, Gabby. Gabby, it's hard to read text, but I don't want you to feel like we're trying to take something from your reasons.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we're trying to add to your reasons, right? We're trying to help you see. It's what we would call expansion, right? We want to expand the reasons. And this is the hack. This is one of the hacks, right? Whatever, how much wisdom is it? Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And in the beginning, that's all we have. Because guess what? How many eggs do you have in the beginning of recovery?
One if you're lucky.
One. Right.
Yeah.
And what we do is we give you these eggs and we're saying, okay, don't just put this all in one basket, spread the baskets, right? So today, there are times I'm feeling really motivated for myself. If you ask me what my big why for doing things is going to be, like, I care about myself. I want to do better. On other days, I'm going to say, well, one of the big whys in my life is I want to be here for my family. I want to be around, for my family.
Hey, Dustin said, better make egg salad.
I love me some egg salad. But don't
brother.
just put it on one piece of bread. That's what I'm saying. Use different breads.
Right.
Crackers. Stuff.
Whoa. We're all inclusive here. We don't make racist comments.
Wow. Now, go back. I got to go back to addiction. Addiction can feed on anything, though. It doesn't just feed on, it doesn't just feed on, like, sorrow. It can feed on success. It can feed on hate. And it will feed on your blind spots, right? It will let you get so far and then stick a foot out in front. It's the Charlie Brown and Lucy show, with addiction, man. You won't want to kick the ball, but eventually they convince you to kick the ball, and then you end up missing the ball and falling on your back, and everyone's laughing at you, right? And so anyway, going back to this addiction is smarter than we are. That's why there's no cure for it yet. And think of all the doctors and scientists, right? All the counselors and therapists.
Whoa, wait a minute. Didn't you see that commercial from that treatment center in Minnesota that says they're cured now? They can cure addiction. Hey, did you ever see that commercial?
I have.
Like, what were your feelings on that commercial?
Happy for you. To each his own. I mean, I got to stick with what I know works for me and for most others. I mean, if they have it, eventually, it's too soon to tell, and eventually time will tell, right? Like, the data because trust me, if that was true, it'd be all over. It wouldn't just be in a commercial that you've only seen. It'd be in all the research. It'd be in all.
Right, I agree.
It'd be at all the conferences. Your doctors, it wouldn't just be in a commercial. Look at it. I mean, people want the cure, so no one's just gonna, especially therapists. We don't want to have to, like, continue to struggle like this with folks, man. When you love somebody, you want to see them cured, right? But I don't know if we have the cure. I don't even know if we're right. I'm just saying I think we're onto something.
Right. I know it's worked for us. So
right. Yeah, Amy, we're not. Look, there will be no conspiracy theories today. We're moving on. We're anti-conspiracy theory. We're moving on.
We're not saying you're wrong, Amy. We're just saying we're not going to talk about that here.
Hacks. We're talking about hacks. I mean, conspiracies can be true too. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now going back to the hacks, right? So one of the hacks is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Right. This is one of the wisdoms here. Now, here is the other thing. So we were talking with Gabby about, recognizing she's got 90 days of recovery, 3 months of recovery. That's a solid accomplishment. But I also asked her to think about all the wonder in her life that is making her life feel so good, right? Because yes, you got sober, but there had to be something in you that changed before you got sober. A lot of times we don't even know what that is, but it's important to look at it because you might need to tap into that at some other point, right? Because yes, that energy got directed at a relationship or whatever it was, right? But what happened in you that changed your reality? Because, I've always said this. If you've been sober for 10 years and you decide to drink one day, right? At what point in the timeline, so you're sober, you drink, and then relapse immediately after the drink. At what point is the relapse? One day, if you look at this timeline, right? So let me think. Let me find something I can use here.
So I can tell you.
If this is when you're sober, this is when you drink, and then all the bad shit happens after you drink. When did the relapse happen?
Absolutely when you decided that you were going to take a drink consciously or maybe subconsciously, right? Like, how do we know we haven't relapsed when our brain has reached that breaking point and has decided?
Did it happen here, or here?
It happened throughout all of it. At the beginning, when you started your recovery.
So that's one of the things on the other side, right? The other side of that, yeah, absolutely, Dustin. Good, yeah. Hey, everyone, give Gabby a little bit of love for that accomplishment.
Yeah, babe.
A lot of the guys I've worked with, men and women that I've worked
with.
Hold
on, Gabrielle. We're not here for drinking. We're discussing addiction.
No.
So, and that's
we're just using that as an example.
That's one of the things people don't understand when they come in here at first.
We're here for being ex-assholes.
There you go.
Working on the X.
Addiction is addiction, Gab.
Yeah. We look at it all. It's a lifestyle. We're here addressing lifestyle. So we're just using that as an example, right? It just makes it easy for listeners. Now, whatever you did when you were in recovery, and then there's a point when you relapse. A lot of folks thinks that the relapse happened at the moment of the behavior that triggers the physical relapse. But most of us forget, and we don't pay attention to the fact that we've made the decision to engage in those behaviors while sober, clean, or in recovery.
Absolutely.
Right? Look, a lot of folks tell me if you've ever said this, Tony, Amy, anybody, Dustin, has any of you ever said, I'm different when I'm on substances. I'm a different person when I'm not on substances than I am when I am on substances.
Don't talk to drunk. Hey, don't talk to sober me when you were talking to drunk me. I hear it all the time.
So how many of you have ever said that I'm a different person when I'm using than when I'm clean, right? And then I'm getting you, I want you to think, how different are you? Like, tell me all the parts of you, the great parts of you that you are when you're sober, right? Think about it, and tap them into what are you like versus, right? So when you're sober, and when I'm in this life, I'm, right? So if we're just using drugs, right? Or, or gangbanging. When I'm not in the streets, I'm this way. When I'm in the streets, I'm in this way, right?
Right.
What are you like when you're at your best, right? When you're in recovery, you got 10 years of recovery. What do you like? What do you like when it comes to honesty? What do you think they say, Monte? When I say when you're clean and so, what do you think they say? I'm 100% honest.
Yeah.
Right. How about responsible? I'm 100% responsible.
Right.
100%. 100% responsible. Right.
I will own my shit.
How are you like with your kids? I'm the best parent ever. Best parent, gentle parenting, everything.
Fuck,
right?
Man. I don't know what that means.
Monte is the exception to all of this. Right. What do you like at work? Oh, I am the best worker ever. Right. I'm the best worker ever. Right. And right. I'm happy-go-lucky. Right. I'm nonviolent. I go to church. I do the rosary. I baptize myself in the river daily. Like whatever, right? More accepting of my flaws, spoken like the Amy I know, right? Right. And even that, right? I'm more accepting of my flaws. Like I accept reality, So then when you bubble all that, when you package all of that, and you get this great fucking person, right? You have the whole package, right? Yeah. You have this whole package. You're the total package. The only question I have, well, which person were you while you were sober when you made the decision to relapse? When you said, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead, if those things are all true, how do we ever get to the point where we go back to the beginning, where we can do something stupid, like throw away our recovery? If that is who you are, how do we get to the point in that state of mind before you've engaged in a behavior or a substance? Remember, because you're in this creme de la creme of a lifestyle. How do we get to the part where you now describe what you're like when you're using, folks, or when you're out there bad, right? Now in the chat, put all those terrible things that you are. When it comes to honesty, what are you? In the life, when you're in that negative lifestyle, what are you, Monte?
Oh, I'm in the negative lifestyle?
Yeah. Now that remember in this recovery, in this non-using state, we're right next to Jesus and Buddha. What do you like when you're in the life?
I was Jesus and Buddha.
In the life, right?
In the life.
What do you like? What does it do to your honesty? What does it do to your commitment to family?
Well,
what do you like at work? How many times do you baptize yourself a day in that life? Right?
Right. I know, and absolutely. Right. But if you asked me in that life, I was still 100% honest. I was brutally honest.
No, I'm asking you in this life, because remember, you're filtering it
in that life.
Clarity.
Right.
Right. Because in sobriety, you know what you're like on the other side. So absolutely. In your sobriety, what do you know yourself to be?
Oh, from then, a monster.
Okay, the monster, right? So right. This is critical point here. So when you're clean, when you're sober, when you've been in recovery, when you've been crime-free, and you know what you're like when you're in that life from your new self-awareness perspective, right? How can we ever, if what we're saying is true, how could we ever get to the point again to pick up that trait, to pick up that monster and become that monster? See, if what we thought was true in reality around recovery, that all it takes is for you to be sober, to be going to meetings, to be praying on your knees, to be talking to folks, to go to work every day and bust your ass in the middle class chase for a better lifestyle, right? When you think about all of those things, how is it ever possible to become the monster again, right? This is why we know that no rational person would ever do it.
Right.
So when you look at addiction, you realize addiction knows how to get around all of that.
Right.
That's why we know there is no fucking cure, because who in their right mind would want to live like that again
Right.
after escaping that, right? We think we know ourselves so well, but what we need to know more of is what we're up against. And when you can truly accept what you're up against, is you're gonna have your effort will have to match your level of understanding of what you're up against.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
That's why when we're not full blown into recovery, and or we're putting all our eggs in one basket, we haven't. Great, you're going to do what you do, but will it match what you're up against?
Right.
If your house is on fire and you bring a cup of water to the fight, great, but are you matching the level of the need? No, you need a lot more than a cup of water to put that out, right? Yeah. This is why we're thinking. Knowing your purpose changes it does change the whole game. It's one of the things, and I'm going to say this is why we talk about spirituality as well as being a former, because what we're talking about and diversifying, what we're actually talking about diversifying is what you feel connected to. So, I watched a movie yesterday. This guy went to the doctor. He was like in his 40s. He went to the doctor. He wasn't feeling good. 2 weeks later, he got a diagnosis that he had 3 to 4 months to live. Up until that moment, he was a young guy, healthy, beautiful wife sitting next to him, family. He didn't know anything was wrong. Within a 2-week period, his whole life changed. He got a diagnosis. You're going to die in the next 3 or 4 months. Right? That is, in my opinion, like the culmination of what addiction is like. We want to see you again, Gabrielle. Congrats again. Keep coming back, man. We want to talk more. Much love to you.
Gabby, I'll see you next Sunday. If you need me, hit me up. You know where I'm at.
You can join on your phone too. Like you can just watch. You can put your headphones in and listen on the phone. But when I saw that, I'm like, that is how quickly things can change for folks in recovery too.
Yeah.
You don't know, especially when you're not really diversified, right? We want you to have deep relationships with many things, right? Like, I'm just using an example. If my wife left me, I'm deeply devoted to my wife, but I'm also deeply devoted to many things,
like your coffee pot.
I have special relationships with. I have a one-of-a-kind relationship with my wife, and it would be devastating, right? But I also am connected to my children. I'm connected to my family in other places, my friends, my recovery, right? I can't afford to put it all in one place. And a lot of us think, well, this means so much. I can't imagine betraying it. It's not about that. It's that we have to always be outsmarting and preparing, for this thing that lives within us that can work around and through and into the most important relationships of our lives. You know how many parents, man, who are otherwise great parents have stolen from their own kids in addiction? Or how many of us have gone to prison when we have people that we love so much, right? Like we just did things that still took us. We have to be prepared. We have to match the level of concern in our recovery.
Love you, Gabby. Dustin, thank you, bro. Good morning, Sabrina. Welcome. Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Have a great day, Dustin.
So I got a friend.
Never did to change. That's right, Jay.
Yeah.
So the other hack. So we have 2 hacks. You see me?
For the same reason, yeah. Jay, I hear what you're saying. Yep.
So we said, don't do anything stupid. That was I distilled it. I distilled the whole recovery process down to one thing. Don't do anything stupid. If you can live by that rule, you're a better man than I am, better person than I am, right?
But whose idea was stupid? I mean,
fair enough. Fair enough. If you want to stick your tongue in an electric socket because you think that's smart, That's called natural selection. Um, you know, you got to have a basic premise of common sense for this to work, and we're all assuming that you do. Now, how do you know? Oh, that's a fair question, Monte. How do we know something's stupid? First of all, if it makes you stop and pause for a moment, like if you're really thinking, like if you have to think. He's going to be calling you all the time, Amy. Careful what you ask for. Now, I think one of the indicators of whether or not we do something, a lot of times it makes us pause. Right? Now, remember, I have to go back to one of Gabby's points here. So Gabby said, in what we were talking about, whatever brought you to the table, right? That's a good indicator. Let me tell you what brought you to the table. You ready for this? This is true for all of us. Oh, Michelle called me handsome. Now listen, Monte, what brought you to the table? You ready? And this is true for everyone on the call. It's indisputable. All right? This is a double-edged sword. You guys ready? You guys want to hear what brought you to the table? Here it is. A moment of clarity.
I agree.
It was a moment of clarity. Great. But here's the tricky thing about a moment of clarity. It's just a moment.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking moment. And it comes and it goes as quickly as it came, right? And your moment of clarity may not always be the same when you have them. Now, in every relapse process, remember, how do you know if it's stupid? In every relapse process is built in is a moment of clarity. And it can last shorter than that. It can be shorter than that. And the trick is you have to be able to jump in through that window as it opens, even though it goes that, you have to get in there just as quickly, right? That's what a lot of us did. We had a moment of clarity. We jumped through it like we were kind of doing that double Dutch move, like waiting for the window to come back so we could jump in. And so you jump into that moment of clarity. But just like the moment of clarity came, it can leave. How do we know if it's stupid? You're going to have a moment of clarity when your mind is like, you either take it or you don't. And a lot of us have conditioned ourselves to ignore the moment of clarity. We do it around dieting, right? If anyone in the chat has ever tried to diet, before you grab the cookie, your mind is like, you're trying to diet. And we like, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. Right? You try to quit smoking. I'm gonna do it anyway. But before you do it, the brain gives you options. It never does not give you options. You get better at overriding the awareness of those options, but the brain does what the brain does, and you can't stop it from giving you options, even in the heat of the moment.
I agree with
that. Because the brain is complex. And remember, the brain can process billions of data points in a split second.
Yep.
And you condition yourself to either listen to those more often or to try to override them and bypass them. It's the same thing with like suicide. Your brain does give you options, but think about it. In order to be able to do something like that, we override basic instinctual programming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, J Real, that's amazing to hear. Much love to you. Much love to you. It is self-talk, right? We have a conscious. We have whatever we want to call it. We have the other voice, but addiction is a voice, and so is self-awareness, and so is consequence, and the parts that we love about ourselves, right? Now, that's why I'm saying that whatever brought you to the table may not be what keeps you at the table, but it could always be a part of why you're at the table. Like, I'm pretty sure I thought of changing for others in the very beginning. It was the awareness that I had abandoned important people in my life that got me to think about change. And then I, at some point, became a part of that process. And Monte, you've been around when we've talked about forgiving ourselves. No,
Absolutely, bro.
a lot of times we're years into the process before we even think about forgiving ourselves. So, I think Tony, or who was that said that, like I did it for someone else. I think it was Tony. I couldn't do it for myself. So I found I don't care, man, find whatever reason. And we're going to help foster that reason. We want to help you deepen the reason. And we're going to try to give you more reasons. Would you rather have 10 pairs of shoes or one? Like that's the thing, like those are like fucking canoes. I don't even know how you have room in your house for those. It's like a canoe rack. I need to build one of those in my garage.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. Like in the beginning for me, I know we talked about this, and it took me a long time to understand the processes of my changes, right? Going from a consequence-based change, being afraid of dying in prison and saying, okay, I'll have to pretend to be as good as I have to be, right? So they'll let me go. And having that develop into a principle change, right? Realizing that I kind of liked doing that. Like I kind of liked being a better person. I kind of liked being more open. To coming home from prison, being scared, being terrified, right? Having to develop the skills of being free, which are different skills than being incarcerated, but on the same path, right? Like those changes had to come. They had to come as slow as they came for me, right? Because I wasn't smart enough to accept them as a whole. But look, it's been a decade, and I'm still learning more about the process that I'm in, right? And yesterday I did a special live yesterday to talk about not one political party or another, right? Not any certain, but the right to vote and getting out there and using our voice to be heard, right? And somebody had said something about, well, does it really make a difference? And I'm like, I'm going to tell you just the way I was told. In recovery, if you're not active in it, you're not in recovery, right? If you want to change something and you're not active in that change, you're not changing anything, right? You're not affecting any change. You're not affecting any growth. You're not affecting any maturation, right? Like you're stagnant. You're collecting mosquito larvae, right? Like that's all you're doing. You're a fetid pool of water. And I think that absolutely changed my thought process about recovery, right? Like, oh, well, I'm not doing crime. I'm not doing, drugs. I'm not in the life. I'm good. I'm in recovery. It doesn't work that way. And it sucks because, I have a lot better shit to do than sit here every Sunday talking to you.
And me talking with you, right? Like I'm working it out too. Doing this helps me refine it. And that's just constantly like sharpening the knife, right? Iron sharpens iron. And even if you don't need the knife, you still got to sharpen the blade. Now, I'm going to give you guys 5 basic things you can do to hack recovery, right? To change. This isn't the replacement of a full program, but these are some. For example, when I was getting out of prison, one of the basic hacks I was given when I walked out the door by somebody who had come into the prison to like pep talk me about it. He says, the first thing you need to do when you get out is eat. And I was like, eat? I'm going to eat anyway, but why are you telling me to eat? He says, it's going to calm your nerves. Basically, he was saying nurture yourself in some way. Do something soothing and nurturing. And food, which is why a lot of us have issues with food, is very nurturing in nature. It's very soothing. We can overdo it, just like with anything, right? But here I am. I got out in November of '99, and here I still remember that hack. And it's eating. He said eat, and I share that with other formers when we're getting out. I'm like, grab yourself a bite to eat when you get out. It's what I did. And I got me a breakfast. I got me a nice big breakfast. But I got about 50 miles away from the prison first because I was so scared they're going to get me.
See, I was brought home. I ate as well. I was brought home by a sergeant in the Department of Corrections. and they drove me from Sangaree to here. And he was actually a really genuinely nice person. They gave me my initial check, and his first words when he got me in the van were, "Sit up front. You're not in prison anymore." And I looked, because you automatically go to the back door, you sit down, and I'm like, oh. Stopped off at the bank. We cashed my check. He was like, let's hit Burger King, get you something to eat. It's a long ride home, right? It's a couple hours ride home. And you're right, bro. That, like, it calmed me immediately.
It's a hack, right? Yeah. Now, we're talking about how to hack. What do we got to do? So I'm not thinking of, it's not a crisis intervention, but it's kind of like it's kind of like when you put that fuel treatment in your tank. You're just doing something for the good of it, right? One of them is you got to create a schedule. You have to have habits. You've got to create. You need to be somewhere. You need to have. True, and that's what we just talking about that, right? This is true. That it's not meant to be a permanent solution, right? It's just a temporary thing to get you to the next stage, right? Now, you need to create a schedule in order to get habits. So the pandemic taught us several things. People were used to going somewhere. So what happened when they weren't going anywhere?
Oh, dude, cabin fever was bad.
So remember, I was doing these hacks during COVID, where I was telling people, get up at your regular time and get dressed as if you have somewhere to go. That's mindset. See, and that's what I was trying to get Gabrielle to talk about, was the mindset shift she had, because that's the thing that's keeping her sober for 90 days. It's her mind shift. How did your mind shift? And so you've got to trick the body into thinking there's a change in the lifestyle. So you've got to do things on a regular basis. If it's to get up, my uncle would say pour tobacco every morning.
Yeah.
Right. Like off. This sets the I'm not a fan of Joe Rogan, but just the other day, Joe Rogan got into he did a TikTok where he was getting into his ice bath. He's like, this is my first victory of the day, getting into an ice bath, right? Like, he was like, this is me conquering something I don't want to do and making myself do it. That's good for me, right? That's the structured part of the new habit, the new lifestyle. You have to start replacing the lifestyle. So you need to put things into place, right? So I would put that in the banner, Monte. Create a schedule for new habits, right? We need to develop a new lifestyle. The other thing is, we have to get up and get moving. We have to. So a big part of that lifestyle is what? Going to do things that are triggering your excitement, that get you, what is it about the life, right? What is it about the life? You need to get physically active. And a lot of us, even though we might be active in other ways, this activity is meant to also be like a meditative moment for you. Me and Julie almost every day walk the pond, whether it's cold, wet. It's something we do regardless. We just dress for the weather and go walk the pond, right? We have to walk. Discipline. Every single morning I plan my day. In the beginning I had 30. I'm going to say, Tony, are you open to letting me give you a hack for your discipline? Let me know. If you want a hack for your discipline, I'm going to give you a hack. I'm going to improve it one step for you. That's a big deal in my life right there. So get physically active. Do something. It doesn't have to be super strenuous. It could be a walk. It could be yoga. It could be standing outside and drinking your coffee, looking at the sun. Do something, and try to build on that momentum. So Tony, the hack is, every single morning I plan my day. I'm going to say you need to plan your day before you go to bed. That gives, let me tell you, the hack, there's an actual science behind this. The last thing you do at night and the first thing you do in the morning reinforces the behavior you're trying to engage in. You feel me, brother? So what you're doing in the morning, do it the night before and get the benefit of letting that circulate and percolate in your brain while you're sleeping. And then you review it in the morning and kick it into gear. You're basically just doing it twice. You're doing it before you go to bed and at the same time every morning when you wake up.
Yep.
Give that a shot and do that for like 30 days. Yeah, review your day, but plan your next day too. What you're doing in the morning, do it the night before. It's better to be prepared the day before than the day of. Just a hack. Take it for what it's worth. So we got get physically active. You got to put that in the banner. Create a schedule, get physically active. This third one is probably one of the more important ones. Develop new relationships. This is critical. The last thing you want to do is be the one listening to your own thoughts. Does that make any sense? The last thing you want to do. So, new relationships. That's the third. The genius behind 12-step recovery group is that, so here's my analogy, right? Here's how I tell the story. We're all insane. we're all pretty fucking crazy. Maybe one of these days Tony can tell us about how he's crazy, right? Amy has done it. Sabrina can do it. Every one of us can let us know how we are certifiably diagnosably crazy. How we have this insanity floating around in our brain that we just can't seem to be rid of, so we manage it, right? We're doing our best to manage it, right? Now, if we're all crazy and we're all sitting in a 12-step group, right? We're all sitting in this, so it's get active, do something, new relationships. If we're all in a room and we're all crazy, the chances are high that at least one of us will experience an episode while we're all together. So like, let's say we lived in this room together, right? We live in this room together and there's 12 of us. And on any given day, one of us is going to have a moment of crazy. You follow me so far? Now the odds, that odds of somebody doing that is high. It's a good chance when we wake up at some point during the day, somebody is going to have a crazy moment. Now, what are the odds of, you ready for this? All of us having a crazy moment at the exact same time. All of us. The odds of that are actually really low. It is possible for several people in the group to have a breakdown, but it's very rare that the entire group would have a breakdown. Now, there are historical moments where we can prove that has happened, but the odds are low. It's one of the reasons 12 steps work, because you got a group of technically insane people working together, and they're all having their moments of clarity and they're all having their moments of insanity in different moments. They're not all converging, right. which is fucking great. Because it would be a bad day in the US if all addicts had a meltdown at the same time.
Yeah. The truth would come out. So, everybody's fucked up.
The part of the reason we want to create these new relationships, right, is because those people are likely to help us stay on track. They're going to say, hey, you're having a moment of insanity. Hey, Sammy, you're having a moment. Let me. And then what does the group do, bro? What the group should do is circle up and keep you within the bounds of the room so that you don't hurt yourself, hurt someone else, and hopefully stop you from doing something stupid.
Absolutely.
That's the genius behind new relationships. So you know what that means, and this is all in our literature. There's a certain process you need to take these new relationships through so they know what to do for you. Now, if you happen to be in a recovery environment, they're already going to know what to do for you. But if these are folks who have never been around folks in recovery, you're going to have to educate them a little bit. But we're not going to get into all that. One of the hacks is get into a new relationship. That means you got to come out of your shell. You got to, I know some of you are like, I don't trust people.
And you guys, we're not talking about relationships as in girlfriend, boyfriend, dating, sexual. We're talking about what we're doing here, developing relationships with people who have our best interests at hand, and we have their best interests at hand. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Now here's number 4. This one I really like, Monta. Wear something that tells the world about your recovery. Wear a shirt that says something about your recovery. Because what do you think that's going to do?
Let people, yeah.
But what's it going to do? What do you think happens? You're walking around, you have this shirt.
Oh, it definitely creates a conversation piece. It starts a dialogue with some stranger who's going to say something, and it always happens. Oh my God, I'm in recovery too. Or my mom's been in recovery for 10 years.
Or imagine walking past Sandy. Yeah. You got a shirt on, and Sandy, who's been there, be like, she might just give you the nod. Like, I see you.
That reinforcement.
It's positive affirmation and reinforcement, right? From your community. Absolutely. So number 4, market your recovery somehow. Right? So that's got to be number 4. Number 4.
Oh, bro. Not as easy as you think.
Oh, you out of room over there?
Well, I got to go through it, and each time I have to edit it and go through.
All right. The last piece is almost a no-brainer, right? 2 for 1 with my business. Tony has just volunteered to give away 2 shirts for every one that he's going to make. Now, this is really simple, but probably one of the more important steps. Remember, we're just hacking. You ready?
Yeah.
You need a contingency plan. We need to know what we're going to do when shit hits the fan, because it will hit the fan. I wish I could tell you that life is always going to be great.
See, that's one of the hardest ones, because we want to believe, right? Like we tell ourselves, I got this now. It's been 3 months. I got this. It's been a year and 6 months. I got this. I just hit my 5-year mark, right? Mm-hmm. That don't mean shit. That don't mean shit.
Well, I've tried to give it to us as clearly as I can. These are and I have more, but these are just like simple things that we can think about to start making our worlds feel better around us, man. And, they're just tiny little things, right? There's just tiny little things. So, Tony, pop quiz. What do you do when shit hits the fan? Like, what's your go-to plan? Sabrina, what's your go-to plan? Jack, what's your go-to plan? Right? What do you do? So if you have insurance on your car and you get in an accident, what's the first thing you do? Right? If you get in an accident and you have insurance, what's the first thing you do?
Drive away as fast as I can. Oh, I mean,
you have insurance.
I call my insurance company.
No. You take a breath air. You're like, I'm good. I'm fucking covered. you have an instant, right?
Right.
You could, but it's going to be a different cry if you have insurance versus not having insurance. But when you have insurance, I remember on Selena's birthday one year, right? I woke up. I'm going to go get stuff for her party. I go outside and guess what? My car had been stolen. The first thought I had was, I got fucking insurance.
Right.
I'm getting a new car. I hope they total it. I'm getting a new car. Right. It changed my whole mindset versus when you don't fucking have insurance. This is why you got to have the backup plan. Aw. Amy, what is that? No, you don't. I don't understand. but I've got 14 years. Man, my phone can ring too, Amy. You can call me anytime. I want to answer your call anytime. That's 100. I had a brand new car, 3 months old. Yep. But it's a different cry when you have insurance, and it's a different cry when you don't. This is why you need your backup plan. You need to have it in place long before shit hits the fan, because
And
you're
Chris,
gonna have
this
to
is
go.
why you buy a car that you can replace for less than 2,000.
Yeah, that's right, Amy. We're people too, man. And let's just take addiction out of it. Let's take criminality out of it,
Yeah,
right? We're fucking humans, and you know what? Everything we're talking about applies to regular folks too. That's right. Had to use my backups. It's. I know
wait.
when by the time you get to me, it's like you're ready to burn the world. So I'm okay. I see you, Amy. Right?
So what you're saying, Sammy, is that everybody's having a human experience, and we need to understand and recognize that.
Yeah, and we just got to take a few additional measures because
Right.
we're dealing with a chronic issue that has chronic problems attached to it that require extra thinking. But
Yeah.
this is just life, man. You think? Tell me a person who's not in our program couldn't benefit from these steps,
Absolutely, they do.
right? This
They
is
do.
this isn't just us, but these are things that work especially for us.
Right. How many members have we had that weren't in the lifestyle or addicts and stayed for years, right? Participated for years. It helped them understand their family members better. It
Yeah,
understand to help themselves better. Like, absolutely.
I
That's
see you,
why I'm
Tony.
still
I
here
have
after a
several.
decade.
Yeah, see, Tony is tapping into what we talked about in the beginning. You got to be diversified. Look at what he
Yeah.
said. I have several. It's
Yep.
situational. Exactly. Exactly. There are people I call depending on what I need from them. You too, Chrissy. We appreciate you
Love you,
being
Aunt
here.
Chris.
Right? That's exactly what we're talking about. And see, that's just how the natural trajectory of getting better
Yep.
leads us to doing better, right? And doing better leads us to getting better,
Absolutely.
right? It works both ways. And I'm just gonna say, like, if you didn't do if you all you did was just these things would start to get better.
Yep.
But what recovery adds to this is a deeper insight, which allows you to understand the value and importance of other things too, about your life, about your relationships, right? We've talked about, man, we covered so much ground today. That was a super interesting topic, Mark. I'm glad you brought it up. Um, and here at FA, we don't talk about avoidance. We're
Right.
like, take that shit head on.
Got to, bro. You ain't got no
Take that
choice.
shit head
And
on. But you got to use your common sense, though.
right.
Like,
You want to know something funny? Is the topic came up to me jokingly in my head, right? Like, because I had somebody had said, well, everybody can't be as good at recovery as you are. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, who are you talking to? Do you know what I've been through over the last decade to just barely, stay in the boat? Like, man, I fight on a daily basis, right? We got to make this worthwhile. And when we were talking, he was like, but you made it look easy. And I'm like, ain't nothing easy about this, bro. Like,
that, I tell you, man, it. This is not uncommon. It's a little frustrating when I hear that sometimes personally, but
yeah,
I understand. I understand where it's coming from, right? Um, it looks easy, but nobody sees the work that we had to be doing on a regular basis to get here. I saw a memory come up on my Facebook post, and it was when I was at Alex's first gym,
yeah,
and the first time I lifted 500 pounds, right? And it took me about, I'm going to say, probably about 6 to 9 months to get there. But when I first started his gym, I could barely pull 405 pounds off the floor, 405. I did it, but it was ugly. My hands were peeling. It was like
yep,
bar was crooked. It was ugly as fuck. I did 500 pounds twice for the first time, like 6 to 9 months later, right? but I was in the gym 6 days a week, 2 or 3 hours a day, right? But when you look at the lift, I did two. I was supposed to do a single rep, but I felt so strong. I did two, right? And then put it down, and the whole gym blew up for me, and gave me love. That looked easy, but the journey to that was fucking tough. I had been throwing up at different parts of my workouts, hurt injuries. I had broke my leg, coming back off a broken leg. Like, dude, it was rough. It does look easy, but those folks who say that, be mindful of this one there. It can be discouraging because I've had clients hide things from me because they say, I didn't want to, you look like you make it so easy. And the fact that I can't do it makes me feel like I'm weak. And so we have to kind of encourage them to be like, I struggle like you struggle. It's hard for me to wake up at 5 to go to the gym every morning. Like it's hard for you to wake up at 5. Like it's not easy. But we get a schedule, we get active, we start building new habits, we get very, Tony says, I get leery when things are going easy. You'll get to a point where you're just, you don't have to be leery. You can, moderate, ask yourself how can challenge. Because, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not okay if I'm not struggling underweight. I like to really lift heavy in life. I like it when I'm doing something very challenging. So my one of my coaches said, if you say you're bored, it's because you're a boring person. And I've never said it since, right? And so I'm always doing something because I don't want to be boring.
Right. Hey, Red, Red's living with us now. He was like, bro, you have a million projects. He was like, there's like a million things to do. And I'm like, always. He was like, do you ever complete them all? I was like, no, because every chance I complete something, I add 2 or more 3 things to the list so that I know no matter what I have, there's always something I got to do. I got to do something. I can take a nap. I can play a video game for a little while, but there is something waiting for me to do it at all times, every day, 24 hours of my life.
Well, listen, folks, this has been great. Monte, a great topic. I know you were just bringing it up, but I mean, it don't matter what you bring up. If it's something on top of mind, we can do it, right? Like this shit ain't easy. People like Amy make it look easy.
She does,
right? She in heels on a motorcycle with her pistol, right? Like some folks make it look easy.
I didn't know what to do the first time I met her, bro. And she started talking about, and then she had it in her purse, right? Like she was like, I was gonna go over there and shoot them, and I'm like, what the
Medea? She's like Medea, but like a realtor Medea. It's not easy. Trust me. I mean, you and me both. We know this, man. I'm always under an enormous amount of stress and pressure, but recovery makes it manageable for me. So anyway,
you got it,
brother. I've got to get going. Much love to you guys. Great conversation. I'm looking forward to doing this again next week. When are we here, Monte?
Sunday morning, 9:30 to 11. Don't forget, everybody, there's a general primary Tuesday, the 21st. Don't care who you're voting for. Get out there and vote. Have your voice heard.
Take care. If you're not going to vote right, don't vote at all.
Officially, we do not. Vote for whoever you're going to vote for, but have your voices heard. We can't affect change unless we speak up. So hopefully you vote for change. So as close to political as I can get, bro.
I got you. All right, y'all. Much love. Have a great day. Peace out. I'm going to go enjoy some of the 65-degree weather in the sun.
Give the family
cheddar that I cook on the grill today.
Give the family my love. Tell them I miss them. We'll see them soon.
Much love, y'all.
Love, bro. Facebook family and friends, again, thank you for everything. We really appreciate it. Tuesday, February 21st, get out and vote. It's really important. General elections coming up in April. Again, listen, if you don't know, you can register to vote at the poll. Bring an ID. If the ID doesn't have your current address on it, just bring a letter from a bill, a letter from the government, anything that you have with your new address. Love you too, Auntie Chris. Love you, Amy. You can register right there at the polls. you can get an ID for free, an identification card for free. It's a voter identification card at the DMV. It doesn't cost a penny. Racine Interfaith Coalition will help you do that. So no reason not to vote. Love you guys. Have an amazing week. We'll see you again soon.